Go. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Lily's Book Club live reading or read along. It's depends. It's just two ways to say it, live reading or live read along of this book, Girl, Woman, Other. And today we are reading chapter 12, which is the last chapter about a character. After that, it's going to be a chapter about something called, a chapter called After Party, and then the epilogue. So this is a big day because then the two other chapters will be different because they won't be about a specific character. So it might be about different characters. So I don't know. I can't remember. I've read the book many years ago, a couple years ago. Don't even remember. I think in 2019, because I think I had heard that he had won the Booker Prize, and Bernardine Evaristo had won the Booker Prize, so that's probably at that time that I bought it, and now I'm rereading it, and it's quite exciting. It's quite nice to revisit other books, previous book that you have read, because there are so many things that you forget. I mean, we read so many books and we forget about some aspects of the book, and with time there are things that we pay more attention to, and it's a rediscovery again. And hello, Kitty, welcome. I'm happy to see you today. How are you? Yeah, so it's a nice thing to do, rereading, even if it's hi. How was your morning? Did you have a nice day so far? It's a shorter version of the book, so I'm cheating a little bit. Yay, nice. I'm good, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, it's actually, the weather is so chill. It's not chill, but it's it was nice. Good. The weather is so warm for this time of the year. It's so weird because last week we were freezing. Even this last weekend we were super cold, and in the space of 24 hours it's like 10 degrees, and 10 degrees difference, and this is very disturbing, and you wondering how nature and how animals and all that are coping with this kind of weather, and flowers and plants and everything. This is it feels and it's the same everywhere. Yeah, it's quite strange. Did you manage to listen to chapter 11? Did you manage to listen to the reading or and read it yesterday? I'm going to do a quick recap anyway, but it's better when you have all the information on when if you have read it, because sometimes I forget stuff. So yay, great, cool. So I'm going to start doing a quick recap of this book, and before diving into the last chapter that is talking about one specific character, a new character, because tomorrow it's going to be different. And I think the chapter might be shorter than, yeah, more or less. Yeah, so there were some chapters that they were short as well. Yeah, so if you haven't read this book, or you haven't heard about this book, this is the graded reader version of this book, which means that it's a condensed, a shorter version compared to the original. The original is somewhere here. Oh, I had it here. So, yeah, it's here. So this is the original book, HAP, and you have here, as you can see, a very different size of the book here. So here you have about 400 pages, and here it's a condensed version. There is roughly 100-ish pages, and this version is adapted to English learners, whether you're a young learner, whether you're a teenager or you are an adult. And it has been adapted for B1 level. It says level 7, which corresponds to B2 level, so which is intermediate level when you look at the European framework of levels in languages. So the book is divided in 5 parts. And so far we have read the first 3 parts, and now we end the first 2 chapters of part 4, and now we're reading the third. Today we're reading the third chapter of part 4, and the last 2 will be in part 5. So in part 1, we have learned about 3 characters so all these characters, so each chapter corresponds to one person, or one person. Those people are actually women. So it corresponds to one woman who has a Black or Black African, Black Caribbean or background, or sometimes they can be mixed race or yes, or mixed race as well. So there are so many issues that the book is mentioning, that is talking about. In part 1, it's about Amma, Yaz, and Dominic. Yaz is Amma's daughter, and Dominic is Amma's friend. So they are all related in one way or another, whether it's they have a close relation or they have a close link, like member of family or friendship, or sometimes it's a colleague, or it can be someone that or a teacher, things like that. And in part 2, we meet Carol, Bummy, and Letitia. Bummy is Carol's mother, and Letitia was Carol's school friend, when they were in middle school. And later on, they uh, stop. Well, Carol decides that she does not want to be Letitia's friend, because Letitia is a girl that is kind of a naughty girl. Naughty, Naughty. Naughty is Ghty, yeah. It means that she is not a good girl. She misbehaves. She does a lot of mistakes, or she doesn't have a good attitude. She doesn't listen in classes, and she doesn't listen really. She does whatever she wants, and she has relationship with boys. She doesn't really care. She only cares about boys and dressing up, and she's not very interested in school and studying. So Carol was a little bit like that at first, and well, was in the same group of friends as Letitia, but then a very traumatic event happened, and she decides to break from her, or let's say she decides to not be around her anymore and do her own thing, and become a good student, someone who is studying, and who wants she decides that she wants to go to good university, have a good job. She wants a good life, a better life. So that's for part 2. Now part 3, we meet Shirley, Winsome, and Penelope. Winsome is Shirley's mother, and Penelope is Shirley's work friend. So we learn about these 3 women who are, what could we say? Well, Winsome is a woman that needs a lot of attention, and she will find some attention, some comfort in Shirley's husband. So it's a very touchy topic at some point. In Winsome's chapter. So it's very it's a kind of complex situation and relationships that she has with men, and how the behavior of how she justifies the behavior of her daughter's husband, but at the same time she doesn't really it's something that you can be easily judgmental about it, and that's a shame, because in the same time you can understand her point of view as well. It's quite complex, but it's so interesting to be able to discuss about Winsome's character. Then we've got Penelope, who also is a very sad woman. Yeah, she had divorced twice, and but at the same time, she um, uh, um, I don't have the or the word is missing. She advocates for independence and not letting herself controlled by men. So in the way she stays true to herself, but at the same she pays the price for it in the end, because she's gonna she's not going to be happy in her marriage, and that's why she's going to divorce twice, um, and she will end up staying single towards the end of her life, um, and yes, that's something that's quite tough, but at the same time, um, she's free and she's not controlled by a man. She's not, yeah, in the end um she will not face violence um and control that some women go through all their lives. So yeah, at the end, it's there is this say in French saying that you better be alone than not in a good company. I think there is a say in English, probably in that same vibe. Um, better, I don't know, but I don't have it now. So if you have it, leave it in the comments. That will be nice to know, to refresh my mind. But yeah, there is this say that says that I better be on my own, that having bad company or be with someone that is not nice with me. Part 4, Megan and Morgan. So here was a little intriguing character, because it's actually, we're talking about the same person, because here, despite she was born a woman, she gradually realized as she grew up that she doesn't recognize, she doesn't identify herself as a man or a woman, but as someone that is non-binary. And then she decides to be part of the LGBTQ community, and find someone that will be the right person for her, who will be able to understand her. And she is the great granddaughter of Hattie, who is the character that we discovered yesterday. She is actually a great grandmother. And it's actually quite amazing. If you remember, Katie, that might be that was quite amazing to read that she was a great grandmother, sorry. And it was so that chapter, sorry, was quite um joyful, because she's just saying that I don't even remember the name of my great grandchildren, don't even ask me. So that was quite funny to read and to learn, yeah, to read about this character and how she's portrayed. And we learn that she comes from that she owns a farm. She owns a farm, and this farm has been in her family for generation, but she doesn't want to give to live it when she dies. She's 93 years old, and when she dies, she after her death, she doesn't want to give the money to the farm to her children because she knows that they're gonna sell it because they're not interested in the farm. And she actually um holds she this farm is very dear to her. And so she instead she prefers to give it to Megan Morgan, her great granddaughter, because she knows, because she is the only one who is visiting her in the farm, um the who is visiting her during the year, not just for Christmas. So she's actually the great grandchild that she likes, and who she believes that will take care of the farm and who deserves the farm more than the others and more than her children, who rejected very early on the fact that they were black. I mean, they had black blood, let's say, because I think because Hattie had a light skin, she was light brown, and her skin was quite light, and I think um yeah, and I think she married someone that is probably I don't know, they're probably light brown, and they don't identify really themselves with the black community or whatever. And they rejected very early on to be living in a farm, and yeah, so they left the home very early, very very early on. And so yeah, this is what she feels about it. And as an old lady, whatever you say, I mean, you can't go against someone who is 93 years old. You just you can only have respect, and you can only respect these wise, older, wiser people. And yeah, she's so sweet, she's so funny. So, and it's very another aspect that is so interesting, and it shows that with time and with life experience, we see that she is very understanding. She's very understanding with her with Morgan, actually, who decides to be um, to not be identified as a man or a woman. And she is actually dating or in a relationship with this other woman. And yeah, so it's difficult for Hattie, for her great grandmother, to understand what's non-binary, what is this. She doesn't understand, but for her, nothing has changed. Morgan is, whether she changed her name, who care? She doesn't really care. I think she keeps on calling her, despite the fact that she changed her name for Morgan, sorry. She still calls her, which Hattie refused to do. I know, did not mind. Yeah, she doesn't mind calling her Morgan now, but the they pronoun that she wants people to use to refer to her, it's something that she refuses. This goes too far, and it's something that can't be understandable, because someone of her age, it's just too much, I guess. But on the other hand, um, she accepts her great granddaughter as she is, and doesn't matter for her that whether she identifies herself as non-binary. It's something that goes beyond her understanding, and as long as she stays Megan, or she stays the same, that she stays the kind great grandchild that she knows and everything, then it's fine for her. And that's something that teaches us that we think sometimes that the older people wouldn't understand and stuff, but actually it's sometimes the younger ones who are more judgmental, who are more the younger generations that are more harsh between one another. And yeah, sometimes it's good to see, to listen to wiser older people, because they've seen so many wars, they've experienced so many things, harsh thing, and hard lives, um, especially people from the 50s and 60s. Now life is a little bit easier, but you never know. I mean, it's just, yeah, people from, yeah, old people have a lot to teach us. Mm, definitely. Anyway, so on this note, I'm gonna continue, and I'm gonna start actually reading chapter 12. Okay, let's go. Grace. So Grace is the daughter of an Ethiopian man called Walde, and Walde is apparently the dad that Hattie never knew. So let's see. So Grace might be Hattie's stepsister, half sister. So let's see. Grace's father was a sailor from Ethiopia called Walde. I'm not sure if it's really the good pronunciation, but let's go for Walde. He met her mother, Daisy, one afternoon in 1895 when his ship sailed into South Shields Harbor and left a few days later after having had sex with Daisy, who had just turned 16. One day we'll take a boat to Ethiopia and find him, Gracie, Ma would tell her. One day. Daisy's parents were not happy when they discovered Grace was half black. Okay. So here she's mixed race here. Her mom, Daisy, was white. Yeah, and Hattie might be mixed race as well. Yeah. Okay. One day, Daisy's parents were not happy when they discovered Grace was half black. Half black. Her father told her to give Grace to the church to take care of, or to get out of his home. I could never leave you, Gracie, said Mama, who moved out of her parents' house and never spoke to them again. So she preferred to keep her baby. Well, Daisy found work making flowers for a hat factory, where she met Mary, who allowed her and Grace to move into a room in her home. Daisy promised Grace lots of things. I'm going to take you to the countryside, Daisy told her. So you can run on the grass and have fun. I'm going to find a husband who will take care of us, and we'll live on a nice cottage by the river. Daisy did not keep her promise to Grace. Working in the factory made her body weak, and when Daisy died, Mary, who had not planned on having an extra child, wait. Oh, Mary is, who is Mary? Wait, wait, wait. Okay, someone else. Working in the fact when Daisy died, Mary, who had not planned on having an extra child, took, okay, maybe, is it her mother? No, I don't know. Mary, who had not planned on having an extra child, took Grace to the Northern Association home for girls in the countryside. Okay. Bye bye, Gracie, Mary said as she delivered Grace to the front door. They'll look after you here and teach you everything you need to know. The other girls in the home were very interested in Grace. They could not stop staring at her and asked her why her skin was so brown. My pa's from Ethiopia, Grace said proudly, pretending she had known him. It took Grace a long time to stop hoping that her mother would knock on the door and come to take her home. Mhm. At night, well, okay, though she thinks that her mom is still alive. Okay. Um, no. At night, she began to dream of her father. He would visit her in her dreams and take her back to live in Ethiopia with him. But nobody came for Grace. Soon she settled into life in the home. Grace was taught how to cook and clean and how to bake bread and how to sew buttons onto her dresses. She went to school and was taught how to read and write, as well as how to walk and talk elegantly. Like a lady, Grace enjoyed much of it and was good at a lot of it too. It made her feel special when her teachers complimented her for things like how well she walked across the room. The best girls from the home would always get offered work as a shop assistant in the Killingham and Sons store in Berwick, where they wore smart clothes and talked politely to the customers. Yet, despite how good she was, Grace was told by the head teacher that she would never be offered the same chances as the other girls. When she was 13, Grace was offered work as a servant for the new Baron Hindmarsh, who had returned to Berwick after many years of living in Ireland. Of living in India, sorry, of living in India. There, he had many Indian servants, an Indian wife, and two Indian sons. So he did not have a problem with hiring a half-black servant. Grace was shopping in Gillingham and Sons for materials to sew herself a dress. She did not want to give this particular store any of her money, but it was the only one in town that had what she needed. She had written to the manager of the store a few years ago to request an interview for a job as one of the shop assistants. However, as soon as the manager saw her, he turned away, telling her that his customers would not like to come into the store if she was working there. For many weeks afterwards, Grace dreamed of burning the store down to the ground. Grace paid for her material and left the store. She was excited to go home so she could start sewing the dress she would wear to the Hindmarch's Christmas party. It was the only time of the year where the Hindmarch's servants were allowed to take off their uniforms and wear nice clothes. Grace looked forward to it every year. Grace was about to cross the road and begin walking home when she noticed the man approaching her. You must be the lady of the Nile, sorry. Grace turned to face him and glared up at him. You could not believe, she could not believe it could be so rude to call her a lady of the night. Queen Cleopatra, said the man, as he could read her mind. The lady of the Nile. Oh, Grace stopped herself from shouting and took a good look at him. He had a kind face, bright blue eyes, and a nice smile. He introduced himself as Joseph Rydendale and offered to help her cross the road. Grace suspected that Joseph was trying to impress her, and she let herself be impressed. They talked for a while as they walked, and after a while, Joseph asked her to walk with him next Sunday too, and the Sunday after, and every Sunday after that too. Grace learned that Joseph had returned from the Great War to the family farm, only to find both it and his father not doing well. Joseph had spent years getting the farm right again and was now ready to get married and have children who would continue to take care of the farm. In the Great War, he had fought in Egypt and had become attracted to the beautiful Egyptian women he saw every day. When he came back to Britain, he did not think any of the local English girls were pretty until he saw Grace. She could not believe how lucky she was when he asked her to marry him. They married 3 months after his father died, and he then moved her to the Greenfields farm. Oh, Grace. Oh, my mistake. Grace is sorry, I was confused. Grace is Hattie's mother. Sorry, I didn't read properly. I thought she was talking about, yeah. So Grace is Hattie's mother, sorry. When he brought her there, they rode a horse-pulled carriage through the busy village, giving the villagers their first chance to look at Grace. Most of them had never seen a black person before. Oh, so that means so the Grace is mixed race. She marries a white man. No, yes, it must be white. What's his name again? Joseph? Yeah. So he's white. So that means that Hattie is even lighter than Gracie, who is, yeah, brown but light. So this is the reason why the whole descendants of Hatties are most of them are white. Or yeah, whiter. Or lighter. Sorry, I was lost. Okay, I was in my thoughts. Sorry. Okay, back to the reading. When he brought her there, they rode a horse-pulled carriage through the busy village, giving the villagers their first chance to look at Grace. Most of them never had seen a black person before. They could not believe that Joseph Rydendale, their local farmer and ex-soldier, who they were also proud of, had married a black woman. For them, she's black, but I mean, it doesn't matter whether, I'm just saying that For them, she's black, although she's not, I mean, she's brown, more like. Um, but anyway, still black. A black person before. They could not believe that Joseph Rydendale, their local farmer and ex-soldier, who they were also proud of, had married a black woman. But when they heard Grace speak, they were surprised to hear that she sounded just like them. And they decided that they did not have to be cruel to her. Joseph wanted at least 10 strong sons to work on the farm and he planned for the oldest one to inherit it once he died. Grace was happy to settle for 5 children. Not sure if she wanted to spend 10 years of her life pregnant. She would be happy with 3 boys for Joseph and 2 girls for her. In the end, Grace was right. They did have 5 children, but only 1 survived. The first 2 did not get very far at all and came out of Grace too early to live. The next was a boy who died shortly after his birth. Then came Lily. Lily was a healthy and happy little girl. When she was 9 months old, Grace began to remember her own Ma again. She remembered how it felt to be loved deeply and completely by someone, and how she had been the most important person in her Ma's life. When Lily was 1 year, 2 months, and 4 days old, she died suddenly. Joseph did not give Grace any time to grieve after Lily died. He would not stop trying to have another baby. So you can see here that it's him, Joseph, who is insisting on having another baby again. He would not stop trying. And it says as well, Joseph did not give Grace any time to grieve after Lily died. So this is a very sensitive or very, very tough topic here, and something that we don't always talk about, the fact that before now, of course, things change, evolved for the better, but it was hard for women at that time. You know, there were not so many contraceptions ways, and not much education about sexual education. And you just had to submit yourself, and grieving a child. So many babies that had died, and this one in particular, especially that she lived for over a year. You just this is not an easy thing to overcome, and it might take time. It might take time. Yeah, sorry. It might take time for a woman to get over it, and it's a very different feeling when, as a woman, you are the one who is bearing the child in your own body. So it's your body that suffers, and it's a traumatic experience, especially when the baby is born as after just after the he was dies, sorry, after the birth. It's can it that's a traumatic experience, and not having the time to grieve that baby or the others probably um is tough on the brain, on the mental health, for sure. This farm, so um that's Joseph talking. This farm has been in my family for nearly 120 years, he told Grace. We need to have another child so they can inherit it. It was only then that Grace realized just how attached Joseph was to the farm, perhaps even more than to her. Joseph did not understand that Grace was afraid that her body was only able to give birth to deaf people. Hmm. To, what did I say? Joseph did not understand that Grace was afraid that her body was only able to give birth to death. She did as he asked, and they had one more child. It took 3 days to give birth to her. Oh my God, 3 days. Joseph called the baby Harriet when Grace refused to give her a name. Okay, so that Harriet was the baby, the not wanted baby from her mother. This one will survive, Gracie, Joseph said to her. I can feel it. She's a fighter. Grace did not care. She did not want to get close to another child again, especially not one who had already caused her so much pain. Grace refused to feed the child, so Joseph refused to talk to her. He hired a woman named Flossie to come and help to take care of Harriet once it became clear that Grace did not want to even look at her. Grace spent months barely able to speak or get out of her bed. She did not wash or brush her teeth and felt sick whenever she thought about the child. She was always in pain. At night, she would dream about cutting her wrists to finally stop the pain. Once Joseph caught her in the kitchen examining their knives, trying to decide which one would be the sharpest. Don't you do this, said Joseph, and he took the knives from her. You can't walk away from your daughter like this. Grace did not think of the child as her daughter. Grace was sure that she was an evil creature sent from hell to punish her. When Harriet was nearly 3 years old, Grace woke up for the first 3 years old. She was 3 years old. Grace woke up for the first time since the child was born and did not feel in pain. She got out of bed and walked to the kitchen into the kitchen. Harriet and Flossie were in there already eating breakfast together. They looked at Grace in shock when she entered the room. Grace did not blame them. She had become very good at avoiding the child. Grace made herself a cup of tea and then sat down next to Harriet. She looked at her daughter as if it were the first time she had ever seen her. Harriet was a cute and healthy-looking child with fat little cheeks and gold green eyes. Oh. I'd like to bake Harriet a cake for her birthday, Grace told Flossie suddenly. And please call her Hattie from now on, not Harriet. I've decided that Hattie suits her better. Flossie nodded and was kind enough to only look a little bit confused. Hattie, Grace said, come and sit with your ma, love. Hattie did not move. She looked up at Flossie for help, which hurt Grace's feelings, but this was to be expected. But this was to be expected. Of course, the baby was used to Flossie, and now her mother was, and now Grace wanted her. She was like, "Who's as a baby?" That's it's understandable. Sorry. Okay, go on, said Flossie. Go and sit with your mother. It's about time. Everything changed. Ma wants. Everything changed. Ma, once me and Hattie found everything changed. Ma, once me and Hattie found each other. It was like once me and Hattie found each other. Anyway, it was like I had come out of the darkness and into the light and could finally love her as I should. I wish, oh, it's, oh, sorry, I was confused. So that's Grace talking to her mom. Everything changed, Ma. Once me and Hattie found each other, it was like I had come out of the darkness and into the light and could finally love her as I should. I wish you could have seen me take care of her, Ma. I wish you could have seen how Joseph and Hattie loved each other. I wish you could have watched Hattie grow up to be strong, tough, and tall. I wish you were around to be her grandmother. I wish you had not died so young, Ma. I wish you could have seen how Joseph loved me again. I wish you had met Joseph, Ma. He stood by my side for the rest of my life and was the best father for our little girl. I wish you could have met Slim, the American man who married Hattie. I wish you could have met Sonny and Adame, your great grandchildren. I only knew them for a little while, but Joseph was so happy that finally there was a boy who would one day inherit the farm. And that's the end of chapter 12. And as I mentioned earlier and yesterday, tomorrow will be chapter 13, which is called The After Party. So we'll see what it's all about. So it's a tough story here. It again about giving birth and how sometimes we call that the baby blues when you when women give birth to a child and the birth has been very hard and painful, very painful birth, and some women find it hard. And I have a friend actually who had a very traumatic experience giving birth to her second child. And when she told about it, I felt so sorry for her. The fact that how doctors are not really always paying attention to women, to the mothers, and she found it very hard to, I think it took her a couple months to hold her baby. She couldn't touch him. She was completely numb. She was in a state of I don't know, very, she wasn't herself because of this traumatic birth experience. So, of course, when we say, yeah, women have been giving birth for the beginning of time, and it should be it's something that is natural. Yes, in some ways it is, but it's not an easy road, and for women especially, and and it's even worse when you lose them when they're just born or just after a couple months. Um, and when you have your husband who wants to try again, especially at that time, we don't really ask what women wants. And it's just, oh, you need a descendants and the inheritance of the, the land, and passing on the land, having, this inheritance in mind. Um, but on the other end, there is only this objective, only this goal in mind for men, or for the family as well. Sometimes there is family pressure, or, it's like kings and queens, especially queens who've always been under pressure by the courts and everything to give birth. And so and and it can be seen in common people, in life. And in this period of time, it was um, very hard for women to have the control of their body. That's part of being in control of your body, deciding whether when you are ready to have a child, and when you are ready to start again, trying again to have another child, going through, because you go, I mean, women are, because you creating a very strong bond with the baby, because you bear it yourself, and it's in your body. And you create a link, and feelings, and strong feelings, and an attachment that is beyond understanding. So for men, it's something that they can't they can't understand. So because nature is like that. But what they can try to understand is when to listen. Yeah. Be being able to listen when their wife or their partner is ready or not, and just being there, being supportive. This is all men can do, is being supportive. But it's also, but it's a big job. It's already something that it's so valuable. So it's not to be neglected. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed, Katie. I hope you enjoyed this live this topic, this main topic of the chapter. And you guys who is watching this video on replay, I hope that you enjoyed this reading and this book. It's so much. This book is about so many things, and it puts women at the very heart of the narrative, and it it touches on so many topics, and it's a valuable book. So go and buy it. So Kitty, I hope you enjoyed this reading, this live, and and you guys enjoy watching it again and listening to this reading again. And now I will see you tomorrow for chapter 13. And in the meantime, have a beautiful rest of the day. Bye bye. Bye.